You're listening to The Business Focused Photographer. If you're ready to transform your photography business into a thriving career, you're in the right place. Each week, we'll discuss fun and innovative ways to boost your creativity and income. Sound good? Let's go.
Hey, welcome back to the podcast. Today, I'm here with a new friend. Aislinn McKenna is a Colorado-based former wedding photographer. She spent about 14 years building an incredibly successful business. She was a luxury wedding photographer. Her work was featured in publications like Brides, Martha Stewart, Weddings, Style Me Pretty, and Southern Weddings. But today, as of 2022, Aislinn has been running a multiple six-figure coaching business. So she's found just as much success in the education sector of our industry. And she helps wedding professionals elevate their mindset, refine their systems, and expand what they believe is possible. You are speaking my language. And she's passionate about helping her clients build profitable and freedom-filled businesses. And honestly, the results speak for themselves. Her clients are having $25,000 months. They're booking their highest wedding packages ever, and they are scaling to run multiple businesses, all while feeling grounded in the work that they're doing. So, welcome. I am really excited to talk to you.
Thank you so much for having me. It's such a joy to be on a podcast where it's the same vibe. We definitely are going to have a really great conversation today. And I know that people are going to walk away from this and there's going to be actionable things, but also just a perspective shift that I know is going to come from our conversation. So I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm really well. I neglected to say that today our focus, despite you having a plethora of areas of expertise, we're focusing on pricing and money mindset, which is my jam. But I love to hear other perspectives and other angles and deeper perspectives. So let's get into that. What is it about pricing and money mindset that has you passionate about teaching it to other photographers?
Yeah, I think the first thing I would say is that the reason why I'm so passionate about this is that there needs to be more money in the hands of good people. And the people who are listening to this podcast, I assume you're good people. If you're listening to this, you are. So when I think about getting money in the hands of good people, you have to know what to do with that money. You have to know how to be a good steward of it. You have to know why you're charging that price point, why that amount of money is in congruency with what you are doing, the value you're providing. And I think so many creatives just kind of get stuck with not being familiar enough with their numbers to even feel solid with their numbers. But if you want to have a larger income or you want to run a luxury business even, you have to be more comfortable with numbers. And I think that the more we hear conversations like this about money mindset and about feeling solid with numbers, the more normalized it's going to be as you're making those bigger numbers and as you're charging what you want to charge.
Yeah. So have you always been somebody who was comfortable with those numbers and a good steward of your finances and all of manifesting the income and the abundance that you have now?
I would say no, because
It's reassuring.
so I started my business when I was 16 years old. So I was a baby when I started my business. And when somebody was like, yeah, I'll pay you $60 to do my family session or $60 to do my senior portrait session. Can't imagine to a 16-year-old how much money that was. So I wasn't oh, I was bad at money. I just didn't understand what to do with it. And I didn't really have a lot of people showing me, especially women. I didn't have a lot of women in my life showing me how to be a good steward of money. I didn't have a lot of women in my life who were showing me how to invest or how to save. And so I really had to first ignore it because at 16, 17, 18, I'm not really going to learn that stuff. But as I grew my businesses over time, I had to really work on my financial intelligence and my investing intelligence. I would not say I'm anywhere close to where I want to be with it, but I am constantly putting myself in conversations, in spaces, in mentorship where that kind of stuff is normalized and those conversations are normalized. So while I may not be where I want to be with my financial health, I am working on it. I'm in training, if you will.
Same. Same. I just got off and it might still be going on, like a chat with HoneyBook because almost a year ago, a friend of mine, Lydia Fine, who's one of their beta testers, told me about this really amazing feature that they're rolling out or that they had rolled out that through their payment processor, they will go ahead and divvy up your income into different buckets, right, for you. You don't have to do it yourself. So like for
That's
taxes,
cool.
right? Okay. Yes. So I finally decided to abandon every other CRM and booking platform that I was already using and liking for this. And they're telling me like, no, actually, that's not for everybody. And I'm like, at this point, I'm like, please, you don't understand. I fired my bookkeeper because but so same, I'm constantly trying to improve my financial hygiene, so to speak, and I don't think I will ever be done with that, just like I will never be, done trying to be a better photographer. It's a practice, it's an art, I imagine like anything else, but what are some of the things that, practices that you've put in place to improve your money mindset and your financial health and practices?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So back in 2020, I took it was like a manifesting money course. So I'm glad I did it this way because I think I needed like the mindset side of it first before I got into the like financial literacy side of it. So back in that course, like one of the things that like they talked about a lot, and I've implemented this. This was like probably 6 or 7 years ago that I took this course. Since then, I do money dates every single week where we sit down and we look at our numbers and we get really familiar with them. And if they're same as last week, great, that's fine too. But what I'm doing is I'm normalizing what's in my bank account. I'm normalizing not making it mean anything about me. I'm normalizing that there's going to be expenses and there's also going to be people paying invoices. Like that stuff is just going to happen because we run a business. So I would say like one of the biggest things that I started implementing was weekly money dates, but then also daily, like I look at my numbers. Like I know the numbers in my bank account. I know what's coming in this week. I know what's coming out this week for subscriptions. So just really like not making it mean something about you, whatever that number is. So that's the first thing. The second thing is I had a friend who she's a bookkeeper. She's a Canadian bookkeeper. But she taught me this thing that was so helpful for me. And ever since then, I just like have like completely shifted the way that I think about my bank accounts. So she told me that the number in your bank account for zero, your zero should never actually be zero. And some people think that their zero is zero. So when they go below zero, they're like, oh, okay, like this is fine because I'm below zero. But
Right.
what we actually want it to be is our zero to be like 5,000 or 10,000. So as you are getting closer to that number being in your bank account and that's your zero, you're going to make different moves and different actions. If your zero is, let's just say $10,000 in your checking account, you're going to start to make moves at 13K in your bank account because you're going to be like, oh, I'm getting really close to my zero. And it's just a different way of like thinking about like the numbers in your bank account, but also it makes you move differently. So those are the two biggest things that I think that I've implemented.
Yeah, talk more about moving differently. I love this, by the way. I love this.
Yeah. So when we are neuroscience, when we are not intentionally thinking about our actions, patterns, and behaviors, we are going to run on old programming. So that programming is going to come from your childhood. It's going to come from your parents. It's going to come from your industry standards and your industry norms, the conversations you have with other vendors. You're going to run on autopilot of other people's productions and other people's money stories, other people's perceptions, because you are not intentionally creating your own. So, when I talk about moving differently, what I mean by that is being a lot more intentional with like if you have a money story of there's never enough or I'm always going to be on the income roller coaster, that very likely you have a lot of proof behind that because it's probably a pattern you've been running in the background for a really, really long time. As soon as you decide, I am no longer available for that story, you're going to move differently. You're going to choose different actions. You're going to choose different behaviors because you are reprogramming your subconscious, but also you are reprogramming by giving your brain proof that a different identity can be available for you. So that's what I mean by moving differently.
I love that. And there's so much truth to you as a person, basically being an amalgam of the people and behaviors that you're spending time with. And yeah, being more intentional about um not just like we think a lot about consumption, of course, dietary consumption, but also social media consumption, other forms of media consumption. But then our consumption, like our social consumption, what are the conversations that you're having? Are you constantly complaining about not having enough? That, this being a bad booking year, this, the competition being too cheap. Like what are the conversations that you're finding yourself engaged in? Because those become your reality. That's because then your brain is otherwise you will have cognitive dissonance, right? You are looking for those patterns in your reality, and that's what you're going to cling to. I'm really really liking this conversation already so much, Aislinn. So what obviously this is a topic that people really struggle with, though, regardless of your background, your upbringing, your history, how much money you grew up with. This is a problem for everybody. Why do you think, though, this is an issue, a sticking point in particular in the photography industry?
I'll be honest, I think the very first part of it is the story and the narrative of this is an issue for everyone. I think because, like, if so, you think about it this way. If you as an individual want to be part of a tribe, you have to ascribe to the tribe's narratives and you have to ascribe to the tribe's patterns and behaviors. And so if you step into an industry where the like predominant like narrative is feast or famine, the predominant narrative is booking your slow, like I hate that one. The predominant narrative is that things are hard for people. In order for you to fit in with the narrative that has been created, you have to like change your patterns and behaviors to match that. So I think the very first thing, like when I like hear like this is a sticking point, is that like, sure, that's a story that we can play into, but like, does that actually serve you? Does that actually create the life that you want? No. Then why are we why are we like playing into that narrative?
Yeah.
So I'd say that's the first thing. The second thing with this is that a lot of people would rather play into the excuse of, well, it's weird for everyone this year, than go do something that's uncomfortable, like reaching out to past clients or talking to wedding planners or networking or like actually knowing your numbers and charging and working on your sales skills. Like it's so much easier to be like, oh, well, the narrative is that it's slow this year than it is to go do the actual work. So those are the two things I'd say, and I'm sure that called somebody out.
Yeah, it's been a big talking point this year. My personal observation has been a different booking pattern, but the same um, opportunities are there. The opportunities are still there. It's getting out of your comfort zone of like, man, I've always posted to Instagram stories and gotten booked that way. And so why isn't it work? Well, you're our market is always shifting, like consumer behavior is always shifting. So being nimble and being willing to network, like you're saying, to reach out to old clients, these are all normal things too in other industries, like super duper normal to do. And yeah, for photographers, it is like a cringy, like very, very uncomfortable thing. I love that you're leading with less pragmatic causes, though, because these are very often overlooked. And, it's easier to point at concrete antagonists as like, why are these problems popping up? Why is this hard for me? And instead of being like, oh, there's actually more work to be done, like here, me by myself, then then because that's the hard work, right?
Yeah.
It's easy to do math and crunch numbers and do all that, but then to like, what have I also internalized that's gotten me where I am right now?
Yeah. And I'll also say this, I was a photographer for 14 years. Guess how many years out of those 14 years, I heard the phrase, this weird is year, or this, pause, pause. Um, Guess how many years I heard the phrase, booking is slow or booking is weird this year?
Mhm.
It was every single year.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as social media existed, people were using it as a platform to complain about the work that they weren't doing.
Right.
So I want you to hear that, yes, things are shifting and things are changing and we have different like buyers. It doesn't mean that it can't work for you. And it doesn't mean that you should stop doing the things that you know work, the basics, because the narrative says that things are weird.
Right. Yeah. Well, when you think back, really, look, 14 years is a long time to have been an active photographer because our um our industry changes so much. The way just because of the electronic digital nature of it that's baked into it, it's there's so much evolution that's constantly happening from film to DSLR to mirrorless, and now with AI and everybody's, AI is the new boogeyman where once digital cameras were the boogeyman, and that was going to ruin the industry. And camera phones were the boogeyman at one point. It's all there's always going to be some sort of antagonist, and very often, whatever that antagonist is actually something that if you are strategic, you can harness to make more money and improve your business and better serve your clients. It is just thinking outside of the box and being willing to take risks and be uncomfortable.
Yeah. And being able to like be adaptable. I think that so many people are like, okay, well, I've been doing this for 5 years. Like, I've been doing like this particular strategy for 5 years. And like, oh, well, it worked like last year. Why is it not working this year? Because it's not 2018 anymore. Like, the things you were posting in 2018, like, just aren't going to fly in 2026. Like, they're
Right.
just not.
Right.
Like, recognizing that change is not bad. Being adaptable is actually going to put you further ahead of the people who would rather complain about the fact that it's not working than like change themselves.
Right. And like if people want to talk about a saturated market, which I have personally not observed. I have not observed. However, if there is any saturation, it is a market saturated with people who are are less flexible. The majority of people in any industry are not so flexible. And they're geez, I can't remember which book it was, but one of the great money mindset books that I read talks about things that are not flexible break, like end of story. So being able to flex, being able to adapt, and kind of fit the in the way that the world needs you right now is going to be the key. Um, this is I feel like I'm in an echo chamber right now, Aislinn. I'm just like, I should start booking people who I disagree with. That might be. Um, the but what so how does pricing and you've already opened up my mind to, this angle in ways that I haven't already thought about, but do you think that the pricing struggle, how to price ourselves, and the struggle with raising our prices is all tied to these old money stories and programming that so many photographers have?
So, yes and no. I think that there's some basics that are missing from a lot of people's businesses. So, like, if I ask you right now, do you know your cost of doing business? Do you know your cost of goods sold? Do you know like your cost per client? So, like, if client books you, what does it cost you as the business owner in order to serve that one client? Do you know your monthly income projections? Do you know cash injections versus recurring income? If I just throw those words out there, are you able to actually like answer those questions? Because if you can't, it kind of doesn't matter if your mindset is, oh, I can't charge this. If you don't actually know if you're profitable and you don't actually know like the actual like basics of like, do I know my numbers enough to charge what I need to charge? Because, for example, if you are a wedding photographer and the primary thing that you book is weddings that you have to get on a plane to go photograph that wedding, your cost per client is going to be far more expensive than a photographer who gets to sleep in their own bed every single wedding night. Like they don't have to like book a hotel, they don't have to book travel, anything like that. But if you are charging off of vibes, those people might be charging the same thing, but their cost of doing business, their cost of like cost per client is going to be different. So I'd say like when you're looking at like, can I raise my prices? Can I charge this rate? If you don't know the numbers behind the answers to that, like it's going to be impossible for you to be like, yeah, I stand behind these numbers, because you're always going to like have this problem where like when somebody says no, or that's too expensive, or I can't afford that, you're going to take it personally because you don't stand behind why you have those numbers as what you have them as.
Right. Yeah, it sure does help when you have some hard facts like on a spreadsheet telling you why you've been charging too little to then go ahead and present that quote to a client and feel okay with a no, because that's there's no alternative for you. That's it. You want to be in business? This is what you have to charge. Yeah, and you're most photographers, I think, are familiar with cost of doing business, that terminology, and there's so many costs of doing business calculators out there where we run those numbers. But you're talking also about CAC, client acquisition cost, which is something that most photographers are probably not thinking of. And correct me if I'm wrong, many photographers might have very little CAC. So, like, we're
Sure.
talking about like people not doing any sort of paid advertising, or any sort of uh, program where they have to pay to get a bunch of leads or anything like that. But what could some of those acquisition costs look like in our industry so people can start to think in terms of that overhead as well?
Yeah, well, you already listed a couple of them. So, like, if you're running ads, that's going to be factored into. You can, it depends on how you want to do this. Like, if you want to do it the accounting route, or if you want to do it just to have numbers route. But you would like calculate your ad spend monthly into your cost of doing business. Or you could like put it into your cost per client. You just need to make sure that you're not doubling that number and putting it into both categories. So when you're thinking about your cost per client, let's just use a wedding photographer, for example. A wedding photographer might send out a welcome gift. They might also send out a engagement like wedding guide or something, like a physical magazine or something. They may also send out cookies as like a congratulations on getting married like kind of gift or something. All of those things would be cost per client. So across the board, if I have 10 clients that are wedding photography clients, and I'm doing this for every single one of them, my cost per client might be, I don't know, let's just say $200. And
Right.
that doesn't mean that there's not other cost per client, but that's just one of the things that you need to think about is that if you are systematic, which you should be when you are doing any kind of client thing, if you are systematic with what you do every single time you have a client, so like sending out a welcome gift, that welcome gift should be across the board the same price per client. So you should be able to calculate what your cost per client is. The other thing you can think about with cost per client is like if you have destination clients versus local clients, your cost per client to acquire a destination client is going to be higher because you have to spend money on hotel. You have to spend money on per diem for food, for travel, all of that kind of stuff. Or second shooters might cost more in that space. So cost per client, you would take like the most expensive version of, let's just say I live in Florida, but I get a wedding in Spain. That would be, and I regularly get weddings in Spain. My cost per client, I would want to make sure that I am looking at the most expensive version of what somebody like booking me would cost me.
Right.
And then you take that number, and that's when you can start to figure out what am I charging per client, or what am I charging if somebody wants to get my butt on a plane in order to photograph their wedding, versus just pulling numbers out of your butt and be like, oh, it'd be really nice like to charge 15K. It's like, no, I have to charge 15K. Otherwise, this is at a loss and I can't do that.
Right. Yeah. That is something when I created a very rudimentary pricing worksheet in Canva where I have all of my different offers and each one has a different client cost. Some of them have overhead, some of them don't. But it's really important to consider this when you are pricing out and making projections for the coming year or quarter or whatever, and setting your income goals so that you can understand, like, okay, I want to bring home 200K, right? That's 200K gross, or do you want to net it? Because yeah, if you're a travel wedding photographer, you do have quite a bit of overhead that you need to be considering it. Otherwise, you're paying for a hobby, right? And don't need to do that. Um, this is really great. And so that's a fixed cost, that client, whereas like if you're doing something that costs you money to get those leads, that is not quite that's not that's a flexible cost. The fixed cost would be something where a client acquisition. Um, this is all great for people to think about. Let's say that they have now done the work. They figured out they pretty much need to double their prices. What do you tell your coaching clients when something like that becomes the case and now they're dealing with mental hurdles to get there?
Yeah. I mean, the first thing I would say is I'm really proud of you for doing the work because as creatives, there is a narrative that we're not good with numbers, or as creatives, there's a narrative that this stuff is hard. And I want you to hear that you don't have to do this overnight. Like, you don't have to do your cost per client and like figure out your numbers overnight and then change your prices the next day. But once you have your numbers and you're like, okay, cool, I was not having the profit margins that I wanted. And that's okay because a past version of me wasn't as savvy and didn't have the resources and tools and information that I have now. So moving forward, who do I want to be moving forward? We can sit here and shame ourselves for not having like that knowledge if you want to, but also that doesn't get you further along. So instead, almost like have this moment for yourself of like, I acknowledge that a past version of me did not have the access to these resources, didn't have the access to like this information, and was not applying that stuff that I didn't have in the past. Thank you for that past version of me. Let's move forward to the version of me who does like operate from a like more profitable and more sustainable like space. So that's the first thing. The second thing I would say with this is once you know what you want to charge, I think it's really good to actually practice, like to actually stand in front of the mirror and be like, my minimum investment for wedding photography is $81.90. In order to work with me, my minimum investment is $81.90. People love to hire me between $8,000 and $12,000, and I love to provide a service that matches that level that they are paying me. Like, that's the mindset work. I know people like don't want to talk about it, but like just practice in front of the mirror. Like, don't practice on your like friends, don't practice on your peers. Practice with yourself first. It's okay to build that confidence in private because that it will show in public when you actually show up to a consultation call and your shoulders are back and you say my minimum investment is 81.90. It's going to show that you practice that behind the scenes. So those are the things that I would say with that.
Yeah, I give that exact advice too. And I think there's so much to be said for recognizing that this number is just a number. And just like if you repeat your own name a bunch of times, it's going to start to sound weird and lose meaning. Any word, anything that you just say over and over again, it becomes white noise to you. So being able to build that muscle and to say this arbitrary number, which is no more meaningful than the last number that you felt comfortable with. So this is just a number, being okay with it. And then, yeah, communicating it so that whether you're on a video call or you're on a phone call or you're just chatting, you're going to be able to communicate that number confidently. And that in itself is going to be so powerful when you are trying to ask for more money. People won't feel like, why is she nervous to tell me this? What, she doesn't think that her services are worth this money? They may not be able to put their finger on it, but if you're trepidatious when you're saying your numbers, people are going to pick up on it.
Yeah. And I'll give you guys like a little like kind of tangent here too. People are going to take things at face value, but they're going to read your energy. So if I told you, and like you're listening to the sound of my voice right now, how confident did I sound when I said my minimum investment is 81.90? You probably were like, I believe that. Like you just like probably automatically were like, she said it, I believe it. If I told you my minimum investment is like 1642, like 492, imagine being in a call and someone said that to you. You'd be like, is she for real? Like what number is that? Is that like, I can't hire this person. I don't trust her if she can't say a number out loud. So this is also why I'm saying practice, but like recognize too that like people are not inside your business. They can't see the numbers behind the scene. So you get to choose those numbers after you've done the work and you know if it's profitable, you know if you can actually like support that number and stand behind that number. But when you actually go to say those things, the first time you say it should never be in a consultation call. Ever. It should always be practice first at home. You can practice on your dog, you can practice on your partner, practice in the mirror, practice first. And then also just like actually do like the psychological things with it where you like put your shoulders back, you speak from your diaphragm, all of those like confidence cues to your body. Practice that in private because it's going to show up in public.
Yeah. Yeah, because you have to convince yourself too, first,
Mhm.
honestly. Yeah, I always say do it when you're driving, do it in the shower, just when you have time, just say the number. Just say the number. And it's so helpful. Do you have any like other tips like that for people to overcome these big scary numbers that they now have to attach to themselves?
Yeah, honestly, I would say uh don't make mind drama about it because to me, like 8190 isn't even that big anymore. $8,000, like, sure, I don't want to like go out and pay $8,000 tomorrow. But if it was something I valued, yeah, I would pay it. So like recognize that like these numbers are only scary because you're telling yourself that they're scary. And so you are like, your mind is sending a signal to your body to be scared. So stop it. Like, stop sending that signal.
Yes. Yeah, it really is. It's all it as always, it's in your brain and it's but that's a good thing too. That means because your brain is the most powerful thing that you have. So that means that you can easily overcome these things. And if you are a wedding photographer listening, I think you do have a leg up because for the most part, while these prospective couples are probably talking to a lot of photographers, uh, they don't really have a litmus yet as to what this should cost. I know I didn't, when I was getting married, and whatever they told me was they were setting the standard for what this thing was gonna cost, and they also, like you said, they don't have the background of your business. They probably don't know what you were charging last year. They don't know your expenses, anything like that. Whereas as I'm a family photographer, most of my clients do know what I was charging last year. And that can get to be a little bit of a head game. Do you ever work with coaching clients who do have repeat work where that complication exists when it comes time to raise their prices?
So, inside of the spaces that I've run, at least recently, I've been mostly working with wedding photographers, but a lot of them do have like portrait clients. And so I actually had in-person sales like training. So I did in-person sales for both weddings and for portraits, and I did kind of a hybrid version of it. I didn't do like what the typical like in-person sales like vibe was. So I had an engagement session. I had multiple engagement sessions between $3,000 and $4,000. I had headshot sessions that were $1,000. I had portrait sessions that were $2,600. So like, I just want you to hear these numbers and be like, oh, that's a thing. Like people actually pay for that because I think we need to like normalize that there are people out there who are charging like higher price points. And when it comes to past clients coming back, the thing is that if you if you raise your prices and you slap a new number on it and you don't change a single thing about the experience, whether that's how you pose people, whether that's how you talk to people, whether that's how streamlined your system is, whether it's products that you add or don't add, if you don't change anything, then yeah, they're going to feel really shitty when they come to your like Christmas like photos like this year and they're like, why is this double for literally the same thing I paid last year? Versus if when they're starting to book you for the future year, you're like, okay, amazing. Like, I'm so excited that you're coming back for portraits this year. Just so you know, like some of the things have changed. Like our new experience has launched in 2026. I'm really excited for you to experience it. You're going to love it. Here are all the cool things that we've shifted that are going to be a better experience for you. That's a very different way of approaching a price change.
Exactly. Yep. Yeah, I call it raising your prices without raising your overhead. So or adding value without raising your overhead. And it's a really great tactic to implement when you do have to raise your prices, but you really can't add expenses. So for a lot of photographers, what this normally looks like is, okay, well, I'm going to throw in an album. I'm going to throw in these prints. I'm going to throw in hair and makeup or whatever, but that's overhead. And if you're raising your prices because your current profit margins are not where they need to be, then you don't want to be adding hard costs. So figuring out ways that you can add value to your services that don't necessarily cost you out of your bank account. And that's like a thing too, at a certain stage in your business, you have time, but you don't have money. And then it kind of switches. So if you're at that phase where you have the extra time and you need to raise your prices, maybe learn how to curate a wardrobe for family photos, learn how to design a gallery wall. These are all things that just cost you a little bit of time that are super valuable. Talk to any portrait client about like their biggest pain points, and it's always things like, what do I wear? How do I get my kids to behave? Things like that. So I love this advice. This is really awesome. And then what about if, because this is another thing that I'm feeling like is a thing, is that we as educators tend to default to saying like, raise your prices, raise your prices. But what if you like the slice of the market that you work with as a $500 photographer? You like whatever the circumstances that make this actually ideal for you, what can we do in lieu of raising our prices to go ahead and broaden that profit margin and make more money?
Yeah, so I would look at your offer suite. So most wedding professionals don't really think about it in this way, and photographers don't really think about it in this way. But if you took a like 30,000-foot view of your offer suite and you looked at what are the things that are bringing in the most income and what are the things that are costing me, like whether it's costing me energy or it's costing me income because the profit margins aren't there, those are the things that need to get shifted, and start to like focus more on the things that are bringing you more income, and then shift the other offers to make more sense with that. So the one thing you said was, if you like the market segment that you're in where you're charging $500, you like your people, amazing, you don't have to like clean slate and get rid of your people. What we can do, however, is that, let's just say there's a $500 offer that you have right now, and it's like a 2-hour session and it's on location. So next year for 2026 or 2027 or whenever you're listening to this, you can still have a $500 offer, but that $500 offer is no longer your signature offer. That $500 offer could be like a 30-minute session on a specific day on a specific month. And all of the people who were previously buying that session can buy this session, and they are getting first dibs at that session type. And now your signature offer might be like, I don't know, like $1,000 offer. And you have to sell less of them, but that's your signature offer. So if somebody wants a 2-hour session on location, multiple locations, all of that different stuff, maybe that's now $1,000 offer. But if they're like, that really doesn't work for me, amazing. Once a month or once every 2 months, I have a client exclusive day. It's a 30-minute session, $500. There's only 4 spots left for next month's session. Does that work better for you? Like, I think we just get in our heads so much about like, yeah, but this is the offer. This is what I'm supposed to do. Like, no, you can change it at any time.
Having a tiered offer suite is so powerful. And what you just described is something that I do exactly, called VIP sessions. And it's a private offer I make to like my OG clients where they can get these back to back. They're almost like mini sessions, but they're not mini. They get all of the digitals like they would with a full session. However, they're back to back in a location I choose, and they're $600 for 20 minutes. So I can max out my income. They're getting my services for a fraction of what new people would pay, and I'm still able to continue to work with them. It's like we need to use our creative brains in the business. That's where our creativity is needed. And, you talked about, we feel like we're not numbers people. You only need basic math, and we all have calculators.
Yeah.
We're not doing calculus here. What you need though is creativity, problem solving, and that's all that creativity is anyway, right?
Yeah. And I think like if you're listening to this and you're like, no one would pay like $500 for a 30-minute session, I think like we both just proved that people will, but it
Yes.
has to be done in a way where it's a win for you and it's a win for the client. Like if the client cares about budget and they care about like the price point, it's a win for them. if you care about not leaving your house 8 times a week, it's a win for you. So I think like starting to think about like your business, like, is this a win for me and a win for my clients is really going to help you kind of like make offers that actually are sustainable. I think that's the thing that I see so many people do is that they make these like kitchen sink offers when it comes to their photography business. And then they're like, well, yeah, but I'm maxed out at capacity. And it's like, well, yeah, you're maxed out at capacity because the only offer you created is this one.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a luxury to have a single offer as a
Yes.
photographer, as a service provider. It's a luxury, and we would all love to be able to say, "I just have this one thing and I'm not doing anything else," and you know what? Kudos to you if that's what you do and that's all you do. But it's also okay to not, and I personally prefer the variety. I like the variety of people I get to work with, and I like the strategy too of having those smaller offers as kind of as stepping stones. I think there's a type of consumer that needs to take baby steps before making the big investment. And yeah, I l- man, did you like get inside of my brain and listen to like the past talks that I have done on OfferSuite
No,
and
I haven't, but I love that we're on the same page.
I love it too. And it's reaffirming for me that I'm not just full of shit either. So I'm glad that somebody more legitimate than me is saying some of the same things that I am.
Yeah, I think like I come from at least for the past like 7 years like a custom proposal like background where like for wedding photography and also like portrait sessions like I kind of came from this space of like I have my get out of bed rate. I have my minimum that this is going to be, but the range can be infinite. If you want to pay me $4,000 at an engagement session, amazing. You don't have to though. Like that can just
Right.
be something that you choose along the way like as you're making choices. But, like, I have the thing that is a win for me, which is the engagement session being, like 690 or something, like, this is years ago at this point. Like, someone can pay me 690 and I'm happy. I'm so happy. Somebody can pay me 4,000 and I'm so happy. But, like, knowing how to create offers like this, I think is really just, it's like that next level of business because you're gonna feel like, I don't know, you unlocked, like, the keys to the kingdom by having this ability, basically.
Exactly. I'm actually giving a talk at a conference next month on refining your offer suite. And
That's so fun.
I'm tempted to like draw more information out of you because you but I won't.
You can if you want to, might as well, I'm here.
No, I think I just need to have you come back, because I love everything that you have to say, and I feel like you have so much value. Before we, wrap this up, can you talk more about your actual coaching program, the sort of things that you do, what it looks like on the inside, and what you've seen come out of your students? Or
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually am retiring my signature coaching offer and I am creating something new for 2026. So I'm really excited because that is coming down the pipeline very, very quickly. But as far as like what I've helped clients with over the past like 4 years that I've been doing this, I've had clients who went from charging $6,000 to charging like $12,000 for wedding photography. I've had clients who have booked their first $15,000 wedding photography packages through custom proposals. I've had clients who have been tipped $3,000 at a wedding. I've had clients who have gone from like kind of like income roller coaster to 25K months. I've had clients who have retired from their 9 to 5 career that was making them over 150,000 to pursue their wedding photography career, which has topped 200K in a year. So they were making like more money in their wedding photography career than they were in their corporate career. So I've helped clients with a lot of really cool things and I love what I get to do. It's like truly amazing. So coming down the pipeline, what is going to be available in 2026 is called Grounded, which is a mindset course for photographers. So it doesn't matter if you're a wedding photographer or like any other type of photographer, this will help you. It is the basics of becoming more confident and having more self trust and learning how to do the things that you actually need to do in your mindset to get the things that you want. So that's going to be my mindset course. And then there's going to be an upgraded version of it that's going to be business related that's coming down the pipeline a little bit later. But if you want to work closer proximity, that's going to be my mastermind spaces. So I have some really cool stuff coming down the pipeline. I'm very, very excited.
is exciting and how when it does it start in January?
Yeah, launch date is going to be in January for Grounded, which is going to be, I can't wait to get it in people's hands because I have had my clients beta testing it. And several of my clients are like, wow, I just booked a 13K wedding because of what I listened to in there, because I got into the right headspace to actually go do the things I needed to do without getting into the mind drama.
Wow. Amazing, Aislinn.
Yeah,
This is
thank
like,
you.
you know, not to be corny, but it's so amazing when educators are actually doing the thing, changing the businesses of others so that their lives change in a good way. And it's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, I truly like at the heart of everything I do is I want my clients to live happier, healthier, wealthier lives where they feel like solid in themselves. Because, like, I don't know about you, but like, there's not a ton of education out there, like in the wedding industry or the creative industry for that.
It's a lot of posing guides and presets and
Yeah, yeah.
unfortunately
I'll
that
help you
doesn't
about
make
your mindset, guys.
yeah, the presets don't make me any more money. They're just a, little distraction. Well, thank you so much. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, so you can find me at aislinneileen.com, but if you want to like actually like come hang out with me, it's going to be on Instagram, Aislinn Eileen Coaching. And I am probably going to be on YouTube and TikTok next year, but Instagram is the OG. It's the place that I'm always living and breathing.
Yes, I know. I know. I wonder when that will end because the same for me, but whatever, it's going strong. And that is AISLINN and is Eileen EI.
EILEEN
All
coaching.
right. All right. I will link it all in the show notes though. But thank you so much. I truly mean you're gonna have to come back and maybe we'll dive deeper into offer suite refinement or one of the many other gazillion things that I tangented towards today because this was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, this was amazing. Thank you so much for having me. And I am all in on coming back. I think it would be so fun to dive deeper into some of those topics.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. And maybe after your program is launched, we'll get some more juice on that. Well, thank you so much, Aislinn. I hope you have a wonderful new year and good luck.
Thank you.
So until next time, keep shooting, keep creating, and keep building the business that supports your dreams. Have a fantastic week. And remember, in the business of photography, your creativity is your biggest asset.